Have you ever received help you did not deserve and felt both grateful and ashamed at the same time? Have you ever wondered why one act of compassion can change not only a life, but an entire destiny? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to tell you a long story about a blind old man, a desperate young fighter, a gift that looked impossible, and the kind of karma that returns after years like a quiet echo. On the surface it sounds like a classic martial legend. A man becomes a stellar martial god. But the deeper truth is not about power. It is about what happens when someone gives you light while living in darkness themselves. And how that gift forces you to choose between gratitude and arrogance, between awakening and cruelty, between protecting others and becoming the very kind of person you once feared. The first idea is this: compassion is not soft. Compassion is a force that can rewrite fate because it changes the causes you plant every day. The second idea is this: wisdom is not only knowing techniques. Wisdom is seeing the consequences before you create them, and choosing a path that reduces suffering for yourself and others. So let us begin where this story truly begins. Not in the stars, not in a divine realm, not even in a battlefield. It begins in a small, forgotten place where people learned to survive with whatever they had. He was a boy who grew up with the taste of dust in his mouth and the sound of hunger in his ears. His family was not noble. They did not have cultivators visiting their gate. They did not have secret manuals hidden under floorboards. They had work that never ended and worries that never slept. The boy learned early that strength was not a hobby. Strength was a wall between your family and disaster. In his village, the strong took what they wanted. The weak learned to bow. If you did not bow, you broke. He hated bowing, not because he was naturally proud, but because every time he bowed, a small part of him felt like it was being erased. So he trained. He trained in secret at first because people laughed at him. He trained with stones tied to his wrists. He ran barefoot until his soles cracked. He practiced punches against a tree until his knuckles bled. He did not have a teacher, but he had desperation, and desperation is a brutal instructor. Still, the world did not care about his effort. One day, a local gang demanded protection money from the village. When the elders could not pay, the gang started taking food, then tools, then livestock. Then they began taking dignity. The boy watched his mother lower her head and apologize for being poor. He watched his father stand silent, not because he agreed, but because he knew resisting meant death. That night the boy swore he would leave. He would enter the wider martial world. He would find power. He would return and stop this. This is how many young hearts begin, with a vow that is half love and half rage. He left before sunrise with a small bundle, a little food, and a heart full of loud promises. The road was harsh. He slept under trees. He worked for meals. He avoided thieves. He learned quickly that the world beyond his village was bigger and colder. In towns he saw sect disciples walking with confidence, wearing clean robes, carrying swords that looked like status itself. He saw how people bowed to them the way people bowed to the gang. The shape of power was different, but the pressure felt the same. He realized something that made him both hopeful and bitter. If I become strong enough, people will bow to me too. That thought was dangerous, because it meant he was starting to equate respect with fear. Still, he kept walking because he did not know another way. Eventually he reached a city that was famous for martial selection. Every year, trainees gathered to test their strength. Winners could join sects. Losers returned home with emptier pockets and deeper shame. He entered the selection. He fought with everything he had. His body was tough. His mind was stubborn. But compared to true sect trainees, he was crude. His technique lacked refinement. His footwork was messy. His breathing was wrong. He could endure hits, but endurance is not victory when the other person is faster and smarter. He lost, not a gentle loss, a humiliating loss. The crowd laughed the way crowds laugh when someone tries to harden and still fails. The officials dismissed him like he was nothing. A sect recruiter looked at him and said he lacked potential. He walked out of the arena with his face hot and his heart hollow. On the street outside, he saw a reflection of himself in a shop window. A dusty boy pretending to be a warrior. For the first time, he felt the weight of his own fantasy. Maybe I am not meant for this. Then the hunger returned. Not hunger for food, hunger for meaning. If I cannot become strong, then what was the point of leaving? What was the point of the vow? That is when he heard a voice behind him, old and calm. The world does not owe you success, but you do owe yourself honesty. He turned and saw an old man sitting near the wall, holding a walking staff. The old man's eyes were clouded, unfocused, blind. The boy almost ignored him, but the old man continued. Your footsteps are loud with anger. Anger makes you rush. Rushing makes you careless. Carelessness makes you lose. The boy felt offended. Who are you to talk to me? Then he noticed something else. The old man's voice did not carry pity. It carried clarity. The boy asked, "Are you mocking me?" The old man smiled slightly and said, "No. I am listening to you." The boy frowned. "Listening to my footsteps." The old man tapped the ground gently with his staff and said, "I cannot see your face, but I can hear your mind in the way you move." The boy felt a strange mix of irritation and curiosity. He sat down a short distance away, pretending he did not care, but actually needing someone to hear him. He said, "I trained. I tried. I still lost. They said I have no potential." The old man nodded as if he had heard this many times. Potential is a word people use when they want to feel certain about the future. The future is not certain. The boy asked, "Then what do I do?" The old man asked him a question instead. "Why do you want power?" The boy answered quickly, "To protect my family." The old man stayed silent for a moment, then said, "That is good. But is that all?" The boy hesitated. The truth rose like a bitter taste. He said, "I also want people to stop looking down on me." The old man said, "Yes, that is the second fire. The first fire is love. The second fire is ego. If you feed only the second fire, your strength will become poison. If you feed the first fire with wisdom, your strength can become compassion." The boy did not fully understand, but he felt the words land somewhere deep. The old man asked, "Where do you live?" The boy said, "Nowhere. I came for the selection." The old man said, "Then come. I have a small room. I will trade you food for chores, and I will teach you one thing." The boy asked, "What thing?" The old man said, "How to stand still." The boy almost laughed. "Stand still. I need power, not stillness." But hunger made him agree. He followed the old man to a narrow alley. The room was small. The bedding was simple. The air smelled of herbs. The old man lived like someone who had let go of wanting to impress the world. The boy did chores, swept floors, carried water, cooked rice. For days the old man said almost nothing. When the boy asked about training, the old man only said, "Breathe." The boy grew impatient. One night he finally asked, "Why are you wasting my time?" The old man said, "Because you waste your own time by fighting your mind." The boy did not understand. The old man said, "You want speed, strength, but your mind is noisy. A noisy mind cannot learn fast. A noisy mind cannot see openings. A noisy mind cannot stay calm under pressure. Before you chase power, learn to clear your mind." The boy said, "Calm." The old man said, "Sit." The boy said. The old man said, "Feel your breath." The boy tried, but thoughts came. Shame, ambition, memories of laughter, fantasies of revenge. The boy said, "I cannot." The old man said, "You can. You are simply not used to not obeying thoughts." So the old man taught him a simple practice. When a thought arises, label it thinking, then return to breath. The boy practiced. He returned. He failed. He returned again. Days became weeks. The boy changed in small ways that were invisible to outsiders. His shoulders lowered. His breath slowed. His eyes became less frantic. Then the old man began teaching him movements. Not flashy forms, but basic footwork, balance, timing. The old man would tap the floor with his staff and say, "Your weight is wrong." The boy was shocked. "How can a blind man see my weight?" The old man said, "I do not see. I feel. I hear. The ground tells the truth." The boy trained. For the first time, his progress was real. Not the progress of anger, but the progress of precision. Then the test arrived. One evening the boy returned from the market and found the old man sitting with a cloth over his face. Blood smell was in the room. The boy panic rose. He asked what happened. The old man said, "Sit." The boy said, "No, tell me." The old man said, "There are people looking for you." The boy froze. The old man said, "The selection, the officials, the recruiters, the gang who saw your fight. They heard you have been living here. They want to use you." The boy did not understand. The old man said, "There is a group that profits from young fighters. They offer a shortcut. Then they bind you with debt. They turn your desperation into their income." The boy felt anger rise. "I will fight them." The old man said, "You will lose." The boy clenched his fists. The old man said, "Your technique is improving, but you are not ready to face them. They are not alone." The boy asked, "Then, what do we do?" The old man took off the cloth slowly. One eye socket was empty. The boy felt sick. He asked, "What did they do to you?" The old man said, "I gave it." The boy shouted, "Why?" The old man said, "Because you needed it more than I do." The boy felt his throat tighten. He could not speak. The old man continued calmly, as if explaining something ordinary. "There is a method, a rare method. It allows a cultivated eye to be transplanted. It is not common. It is dangerous. It is not something you ask for. It is something someone gives." The boy shook his head, refusing reality. The old man said, "Listen to me. Your body is young. Your path is long. You can use this gift to protect many, or you can use it to become a tyrant. The gift itself is not pure or dirty. The heart that holds it decides." The boy cried. He begged the old man not to do it. The old man said, "I already did." Then he said the sentence that became the axis of the boy's destiny. "I will live with less light so you can bring more light to others." The boy did not know how to hold that sentence. It was too heavy. It was compassion beyond his imagination. The surgery was done by an underground healer the old man trusted. The boy woke up later with a burning pain in his skull and a strange clarity in one eye. Not ordinary sight. This eye saw threads of energy. It's all weak points. It's all movement before it happened. It's all the hidden flow behind technique. He panicked. He felt power. The old man sat nearby. "Come." The boy asked, "Why would you do this for me?" The old man said, "Because long ago someone did something similar for me. I failed to repay them. Now I repay the world through you." The boy began to understand karma not as punishment, but as inheritance. Kindness traveling through time. Then the old man gave him one condition. "You will not use this eye to bully." The boy promised quickly, desperate to prove worth. The old man said, "A quick promise is easy. A lifetime of choices is hard." The boy left the city soon after, because the people looking for him were dangerous. The old man insisted he go, while the old man stayed behind, accepting risk. The boy did not want to leave him. The old man said, "If you stay, you both die. If you go, at least one kindness continues." The boy left with tears and a burning vow in his chest. "I will become strong enough to return." Years passed. The boy's growth was explosive. With the new eye, his learning speed multiplied. He could see the weakness in opponents. He could copy techniques by understanding energy flow. He could predict attacks. He could train efficiently. He joined a small sect that valued discipline over status. He rose quickly. People praised him. People feared him. People envied him. The eye became his legend. But with legend came temptation. Some elders wanted to control him. Some peers wanted to challenge him. Some enemies wanted to steal the secret. He was pulled into politics, fights, then tests. At first, he responded with anger. The old wound of being laughed at was still alive. Each victory felt like revenge on the past. But then, after one brutal duel where he humiliated an opponent who had insulted him, he felt that old emptiness again. The emptiness he felt the first night he killed those who threatened the hell sword in another story. Power without compassion tastes bitter after the sweetness fades. He remembered the blind old man voice. A quick promise is easy. He realized he had been breaking the promise in a subtle way. He was not bullying the weak directly, but he was feeding arrogance. And arrogance is the seed of cruelty. So he began training a second skill. Restraint. He practiced winning without humiliation. He practiced speaking without cruelty. He practiced correcting others without stepping on them. He practiced noticing when his ego wanted applause. This was hard, harder than fighting. Because fighting is external, ego is internal. He also practiced remembering. Each night before sleep, he would touch the area around his eye gently and ask himself, did I honor the gift today? Some nights the answer was yes. Some nights the answer was no. When it was no, he did not punish himself with self-hatred. He corrected. He resolved. He returned. This is the path of awakening. Not being perfect, but returning to wisdom. As he grew, he began protecting villages from bandits. He stopped corrupt officials. He defended travelers. People began calling him a righteous cultivator. The title felt good, but he stayed cautious. He knew how quickly identity becomes a trap. He also searched for the old man. He sent messages. He traveled back to the city. He looked for the alley. The alley had changed. The room was empty. Neighbors said the blind man left long ago. Some said he died. Some said he was taken. Some said he vanished like smoke. The boy felt grief like a stone in the stomach. He realized something painful. The gift might never be repaid to the giver. This is where many people become bitter. I owe a debt I cannot repay. But wisdom teaches a different move. If you cannot repay the person, repay the principle. So he began repaying compassion forward. He helped students who were poor like he was. He gave food to hungry children. He trained without charging those who could not pay. He protected without demanding worship. Every time he did that, he felt the old man presence in the background, like the karma of kindness continuing. Then, 10 years after receiving the eye, the world faced a disaster. A being descended, something not fully human, not fully demon, a stellar entity that fed on fear and chaos. It was called many names. People said it came from beyond the sky. Cities fell. Sects panicked. The strong fought and died. The weak ran and work rushed. The boy, now a man, stood on a ridge and watched smoke rise from a distance. He felt a familiar anger, but it was different now. Not ego anger, compassion anger. The anger that arises when you see suffering and refuse to accept it as normal. He joined the war, battle after battle. He used the eye to see the enemy pattern. He laid squads. He saved lives. He prevented ambushes. He became a pillar for those around him. The eye helped him fight, but what made him a leader was his calm. Under pressure, he breathed. Under chaos, he paused. Under praise, he stayed grounded. Under insult, he did not chase. This was the fruit of inner practice. Still, the stellar being was too strong. Finally, the remaining leaders gathered and said there was one path left. A direct confrontation at the heart of the beast. It would be a near certain death. Many hesitated. Our man stepped forward, not because he wanted to die, but because he understood karma. If you plant fear, you harvest collapse. If you plant courage with wisdom, you harvest a chance. He entered the confrontation. The battlefield was surreal. The sky felt heavy. Energy crackled. The stellar being moved like a shadow of the universe. Ordinary technique failed. Many died quickly. Then the eye revealed something. A core. A weak point hidden behind layers of illusion. But reaching it required a sacrifice. Not the sacrifice of his life, but the sacrifice of his identity. He realized the eye itself was being targeted. The enemy sensed it. It tried to corrupt it, to twist his perception, to make him see allies as enemies, to make him see fear as truth. In that moment, the man remembered the blind old man again. I will live with less light so you can bring more light to others. He understood the deeper meaning. The gift was never meant to make him special. The gift was meant to make him useful. So he made a choice that stunned everyone. He willingly burned the eye's power for one strike. He concentrated all its perception, all its energy, all its clarity into a single moment of perfect sight. Then he drove his technique into the core. The strike landed. The stellar being screamed and shattered like a storm breaking apart. The war ended. The world survived. The man fell to the ground, exhausted. And when he opened his eyes, the special sight was gone. The eye was still there physically, but its supernatural clarity had faded. It was now just an eye. Some people cried for him. They said he lost the thing that made him legendary. He smiled weakly, because he realized he had finally repaid the gift in the only way that mattered. Not by returning the eye to the old man, but by using it to reduce suffering. That is karma fulfilled. After the war, they called him a stellar martial god. Titles spread. Temples offered honors. Sects offered thrones. People wanted him as a symbol. He refused most of it. Not with arrogance, but with understanding. Because he knew the trap of identity. He knew that becoming a statue can kill the living heart. He chose a quieter path. He traveled and helped rebuild. He taught calm breathing to traumatized survivors. He trained new defenders. He mediated disputes. He carried water. He repaired roofs. He did the ordinary work of healing after extraordinary violence. Years later, when the noise of war finally softened, he found the blind old man again. Not in the city, not in the alley, but in a small countryside hut where herbs grew near the door. The old man was older. His face carried more lines. His remaining eye was clouded to now. Nearly blind, the man approached slowly, heart pounding. He said the old man's name. The old man turned his head slightly and smiled. I know that voice. The man knelt and held the old man's hands. He wanted to apologize for leaving. He wanted to explain the war. He wanted to tell the whole story. The old man squeezed his fingers and said, "Breathe first." The man laughed and cried at the same time. They sat together. The man told him what happened. He told him he used the power to protect. He told him he tried to repay forward. He told him he burned the eye's power to end the stellar threat. The old man listened quietly. When the man finished, he asked the question he had carried for 10 years. Do you regret giving me your eye? The old man smiled gently. No, the man asked. Why? The old man said, because you did not become the kind of person who would make me regret it. Then the old man added something even deeper. Also, you think I gave you an eye, but what I really gave you was a chance to see your own mind. You used that chance. The man stayed silent, feeling the truth of it. The old man said, now it is your turn to give. The man asked, give what? I have no special eye anymore. The old man said, give the only thing that matters. A steady presence, a compassionate heart, a mind that can guide others out of fear. That is clearer than any supernatural vision. They lived together for a while. The man cooked. He carried water. He cared for the old man as the old man aged. There was no drama, only kindness. And when the old man finally passed, the man mourned with wisdom. He did not pretend to be above grief. Grief is love meeting impermanence. He allowed it. He breathed. He returned to practice. He built a small school near the hut. Not a sect of fame, but a place where poor children could learn discipline and calm. He taught them that strength is not for bullying. Strength is for protecting. He taught them that technique without compassion becomes violence. He taught them that karma is planted in small choices. He told them the story of a blind old man who gave light. He did not say it to make them worship the past. He said it to make them practice the future. Now let me bring this to you. Because you might not live in a martial world, but you live in a world of gifts and debts too. Someone has helped you before. Maybe with time. Maybe with patience. Maybe with a kind word when you felt low. Maybe with a chance you did not deserve. Maybe with forgiveness. If you never repay that kindness, it does not disappear. It shapes you anyway. The question is whether it shapes you into gratitude or into entitlement. And you will also be the blind old man for someone else one day. You will have a moment where you can give light. Maybe not an eye, but attention, guidance, encouragement, a boundary that saves them, a kindness that changes their direction. That is how compassion travels. That is how karma becomes beautiful. I also want to speak to the part of you that fears being taken advantage of. Because many people hear about compassion and think it means letting people harm you. It does not. Compassion with wisdom includes boundaries. The old man did not give his eye to everyone. He gave it with clarity, with intention, with a condition. He gave it not to feed ego, but to reduce suffering. So the lesson is not to give recklessly. The lesson is to give wisely. And the deepest lesson is this: the greatest sight is not what your eyes see. The greatest sight is what your awareness sees inside you. When you can see your own anger before it becomes cruelty, you are awake. When you can see your own fear before it becomes control, you are awake. When you can see your own craving before it becomes obsession, you are awake. When you can see the suffering in others without turning it into judgment, you are awake. That is real awakening. Now I want to share a personal style reflection to close, because this story touches something very human. Many people chase power because they want to feel safe. They think if they become strong enough, no one will hurt them. But power alone does not create safety. Power without wisdom creates more enemies. Power without compassion creates loneliness. Power without inner practice creates fear of losing power. The man in this story became strong, but the reason he became truly free is that he learned to hold strength with humility and kindness. He learned that the highest victory is not defeating others. The highest victory is not being defeated by your own ego. So tell me in the comments, have you ever received a gift that changed your life? Have you ever tried to repay kindness forward? And if you were given a chance to become powerful, what would you choose to protect with that power? If you want more long-form storytelling like this, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment to support the community. And if you want to support the channel in a deeper way, consider joining the membership so we can keep making stories that turn legends into living practice, and turn ordinary days into a path of wisdom and compassion. Until next time, remember this: the clearest vision is not supernatural. The clearest vision is a heart that can see suffering, choose kindness, and keep planting causes that lead to peace.